Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon, and today we're looking at another BREAKpoint deck. This is actually a deck that's sort of been around for a couple of months. It's been sort of played as a rogue deck, and that's going to be Rainbow Road. I feel like it wasn't really worth the mention pre-BREAKpoint, but it's a really much stronger deck now that we have Max Elixir available to us. Another one of these decks that sits on the fringes and then Max Elixir makes it look a whole lot more appealing. So let's get into the deck. It's a really cool non-EX that has one hit potential, so that's always an appealing prospect. So here we go. Xerneas is going to be our main attacker of the deck. 120 HP fairy type with a resistance to dark makes it already a very good matchup against Yveltal, because they really have to commit to hit good numbers against this guy. They can rarely get away with using Y-Cyclone unless they have like Muscle Band Giovanni and other stuff like that, so it's pretty awkward for them. They have to pretty much commit to evil balling, and that deck really doesn't enjoy doing that, so we normally have a very good time against Yveltal decks. Also with 120, we stay out of range of Mega Manectric, unless, again, Giovanni turns that on its head, but still forcing Giovanni is good. And against regular Manectric, as long as we don't put a tool on, we're pretty fine as well. So in terms of HP, this is a really good non-EX because it forces a lot of commitment out of other EX Pokemon, which is awesome. And its attack as well is just absolutely fantastic. 10 damage plus 30 more for each of your own bench Pokemon of different types. So we have a whole bunch of different types in this deck. Obviously Xerneas being a fairy type is one of them. That means we can't play anything like Slurpuff or anything cool like that, because we need these to be on our bench to be our backup attackers once our active one dies. But so yeah, how we're going to manipulate this? Well, we're just shy of a one-hit knockout with 5 bench Pokemon, but there's a Golurk, which I'll be showing next, which has the ability which can be 2 types. So we do actually have the ability to one-hit knockout with a bench of 5, which is really awesome. So yeah, Xerneas is our main attacker. Here is Golurk. So Gollett is just a psychic type, but Golurk has the ability called Double Type, interestingly enough, it's a psychic and dark type, psychic and fighting type. Sorry, I was trying to read it upside down. It's as long as this card is in play, it's a psychic and fighting type, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, that's when you play him down, he's a plus 60 to Xerneas, which is awesome. Really cool. He has the Theta Stop as well. A tiny little note, just because he can't be backdropped and stuff like that. And against stuff like Greninja, he might actually be your best attacking option, because 130 HP and he can't be damaged by like Greninja snipes. It's pretty important. He does have the attack superpower for a DCE, for 2 DCEs basically, or a DCE and then a couple of like Max Elixirs. It does 80 and 40 more damage. If you do 20 to yourself. So yeah, not the worst attack in the world. It can kill Shaymins and stuff. The Theta Stop's a nice thing to be aware of against stuff like Greninja, but normally you just want to be Xerneas anyway and just pound them in the face as quickly as you can, basically. And yeah, Golurk is well worth his slot in here just for his ability alone. So other bench sitters that we're going to take advantage of, well, we have the water type here, which is going to be Octillery. Abyss Hand helps us maintain a hand size of 5, which is pretty cool, and draw us into more stuff. This deck is kind of reliant on DCE, kind of reliant on hitting those Max Elixirs, so Octillery in the later turns can really help us refresh the hand and keep drawing into good stuff, which is nice. So our next type is going to be Zoroark. You can pick whichever Zorua you are most happy with, because we play no dark energy in here, so there's no argument for which one, just artwork. But then we have 2 Zoroark. We know this is absolutely fantastic. Stand-in gives us a nice flexibility with the deck. It really helps out, again, because we are a Max Elixir engine. We can stand in to get Max Elixir on a Xerneas that's going to sit on the bench, and then free retreat with a Float Stone to get back into our Xerneas to help power it up. So it's a really fantastic option to have in here, and of course it provides a different type, the Dark type, and he also has a really good attack, Mind Jack. For just a DCE, it's very similar to the output of Xerneas, but it applies to your opponent's bench, so you do 10 plus 30 more for each on your opponent's bench. And this can reach decent numbers as well. We do have like Muscle Band in here, so he can sometimes hit one-shots if your opponent is not being careful. So that's the Zoroarks. We still have 2 more types to go. One is going to be a solitary dragon type, which is going to be Druddigon. Revenge does 20 plus 70 more if one of our Pokemon was knocked out by damage from an attack last turn. So it's going to help us out against non-EX decks like Vespiquen and Night March, because we can respond for just double colorless energy. Xerneas does require 3 energy, although we do have Max Elixir in here. It's not the most reliable, so just having DC attacks on Zoroark and on Druddigon is going to help us out to keep up with those sorts of decks. Finally, we are playing 2 Shaymin EX, the normal type of the deck. Let me just spread these out so you can see them a little bit better. So yeah, Shaymin is just going to help us draw more cards. We don't want to play more than 2 because although it's really important in here, you can't play more than 2 down, because then that counts as 2 normal types and it eats into your own damage. So you have to be careful when to play your Shaymin, but 1 is definitely going to be used like most games to help us draw more cards. So next up onto trainers now. We have Super Rod. Super Rod's going to help us recycle our things. 2 2-ofs for all of our stage 1 lines. So if pieces are prized, it can be awkward if they get catcher killed because it eats into our damage. And again, it can get us into more Xerneas to keep the flow of attackers going. So pretty nice in there. Also, late game, if you still have Max Elixirs to go and you've sort of milled through a lot of energy already, you can Super Rod back 3 energy just to get better chances with Max Elixir. So that's something to be aware of. We have 2 Trainers Mail. It's going to help us draw into stuff like Max Elixir as quickly as possible. It's going to help us get into Ultra Ball as well. It's a really crucial card in this deck. And we also play Bridgette in here. So Bridgette is like the nuts turn 1 because it's 90 damage potentially, and it's also just setting up these stage 1s that all give really good options for the deck. So it helps us to get outs into Bridgette turn 1. We are playing for VS Seeker. We have a couple of techie supporters in here, so being able to respam them with VS Seeker is pretty nice. Pretty simple. Everyone plays high VS Seeker counts, basically. We are then playing for Ultra Ball. Like I said, tremendous value here. Ultra Ball is more damage. It gets us into Shaymin. It gets us into stuff like Octillery, so that's pretty cool. It's just going to continually get huge value in this deck, even though we are playing a really high Bridgette count. Because we are playing 3 stage 1s, we're always going to need Ultra Ball, basically. Next up, Max Elixir. This is one of the biggest cards of the deck, one of the biggest changes of the deck, because it used to fit another stage 1 line, if you can believe it. It used to play Bronzong to try and get acceleration, and then it would use Smeargle to change the metal type to the fairy type, so you can attack with Xerneas. This way we only need fairy energy in the deck, and Max Elixir can pluck them out of our deck, so that's pretty awesome. Max Elixir, fantastic. It means that we can potentially get Rainbow Frost turn 1 if we Floatstone our current active, get a Max Elixir plus DCE, go in with Xerneas, and like if we use a Bridgette, we can sometimes even get knockouts turn 1, so it's pretty nuts, and throughout the games it's going to help us chain Xerneases, so that's pretty cool. For tools, we're playing 1 Exp.Share. Although we are using Max Elixir as acceleration, it's not 100% reliable, so having Exp.Share that you can stick on Xerneases on your bench is going to be pretty nice for you, so pretty cool there. We're also playing 1 Muscle Band. There are times when you don't have to search for Golurk, but you can still reach 1-hit KOs with Muscle Band, so that's pretty cool. Also, if you've been hit with like a Hex, you can still end up getting the knockout, which is also pretty cool. Just more outs into getting knockouts, basically. We're then playing 2 Floatstone. It works fantastically on Zoroark. It's going to be the main target for you to give you a whole board free retreat. And also, like I was saying, early game, if you do have the potential to smack people in the face turn 1, Floatstone makes it happen because you can move out of your active, which is awesome. So for supporters, we are playing 1 Lysandre. This deck has the power to run through anything in a turn, so you don't need multiple Lysandre, but it helps us keep targeting EXs and whatever you need to, really. So pretty nice at 1 of. 1 Teammates as well. Teammates is absolutely fantastic. The whole deck is non-EX other than Shaymin. So we often get value with Teammates. It can dig Double Colorless out of the deck. It can dig for some of your more techie things, like you need to find your Golurk or you need to find Octillery for more cards. Plenty of reasons why Teammates is fantastic for us. Next up, we are playing 4 Bridgette. Bridgette is ridiculous value in here. It sets us up turn 1 amazingly well. Not only for damage output, but it also just gets all your basics out, so the next turn you can explode by having Stand In. You can have Abyss Hand, and you have Gollett for another 30, potentially next turn, so Bridgette is tremendous value, and of course it's going to fish out Xerneas, which is your whole attacker, basically. So tremendous value. Bridgette is amazing. even though it's kind of dead later on in the turns, we do have the Ultra Ball. These are often going to be Ultra Balled away later on. And then for Sycamore, still super consistent. There's a debate to cutting one Sycamore for a second Teammates. I've seen some people doing this because Teammates is fantastic value in this deck. I still prefer just having the raw draw power, that turn 1 potential for getting those Max Elixirs that Teammates can't provide. So Sycamore still really nice in here. And yep, that'll be it for trainers and Pokemon. And then we finish off with energy as per usual. Pretty simple stuff, nothing too amazing. We just have the 4 DCE. We are highly reliant on DCE. Every attacker in the deck works off of it. So it's pretty obvious why we have these in here. And then we are playing 8 Fairy Energy. So a total of 12 energy, 8 of them being basics. Pretty decent odds with Max Elixir. Like, you could have even more Fairy Energy in here, but it eats into like your support accounts. I think you'd have to cut like some Bridgette or just cut the Trainer's Mails completely if you want to increase your Fairy energies. But like I say, you have neat combos with stuff like Super Rod at random points of the game, and really you only need a couple of hits with Max Elixir. So I feel like not compromising on your energy count can actually be the most right thing to do. So I think 8 energy I'm very happy with. It gives us decent outs into getting most Max Elixirs working, but at the end of the day you can never really secure it 100%. So there we are, guys. Let me know what you guys think about the new version of Rainbow Road. I think it's more consistent now that we have Max Elixir as opposed to Bronzong Smeargle. It also actually allows us to bench Shaymins, which is like a huge bonus for the deck that is going to help us out a lot. So yeah, it has big one-hit KO potential. It has good like resistance and weaknesses. And yeah, overall I'm pretty happy with the deck. So I hope you guys enjoyed. It's been Joe from OmniPoke, and stick around for some more Breakpoint deck analysis. There's going to be more coming. So see you guys next time.